Hello, I'm Angela, and today is day 10 of NaNoWriMo. I initially had a different video that was going to go up today talking about sort of my character creation process, but that video ended up being kind of long, and I don't really feel up to editing it today. So I'm just going to do a quick check-in video instead. Basically, I'm definitely reaching sort of that productivity slump in terms of Nano, both the writing part and the vlogging part, but I really want to keep this going. So I'm just gonna do another quick check-in and hopefully get that up. Yesterday, I wrote basically nothing. Like, I wrote a grand total of 50 words. Today, I have written about 870. That's pretty much all outlining. So, as I've mentioned repeatedly, I sort of got stuck. I've taken some time, I've re-outlined. I feel a lot better about both Anais and Ledger. I feel mediocre, I guess, about Corin, but hopefully it's going to be okay. I've been in definitely an increasing sort of slump for the last few days, and the hope is that I can set myself up to start doing better moving forward. I am still not technically behind, but that is because week 1 Angela was really on top of it and bought myself a buffer, and that buffer as of today is basically all spent. Some of what has been happening is definitely that just my schedule this past week has been a little bit weird, and that I've had an online institute for work that I've started every day at like 10 a.m. and so it just made it tricky for me in terms of writing. And like, probably it shouldn't have, but it did, and that's where we're at, so whatever. But that does mean I'm hoping that as I move forward and I go back to having a little bit more flexibility, like having to do work but not having to do it at a specific time, that will mean that I can sort of get back on track with writing. And also, one hopes that the re-outlining will have helped as well. The other thing I'm really working to do is just to embrace rough drafts and the fact that they're bad. Like, I've definitely also been thinking a lot about, Ira Glass talks about the taste gap, where when you start doing a creative thing, usually your taste is much better than your ability, and so you can tell that like what you're doing is bad, and so then people stop. I am much better at critiquing than I am at writing, and then also, like, this is the first time I've ever rough drafted while also concurrently working on a later draft of something, right? So I'm also working on the 3rd draft of my first novel, and so what that means is that part of me can't leave editing mode, which again, I know is like the most common thing ever, but part of me still spends all this time being like, oh, but I don't know if this world building things make sense, and then we're gonna need to go back and clarify this arc, and like, yeah, the world building's gonna need to be fleshed out. The character arcs are going to need to be tightened, but I can't do any of that work until it's on the page initially. Trying to embrace that a little bit more. Also a little bit nervous about Corin's POV generally. There seems to be less of him than there is of both Ledger and Anais, which I think is fine. Like, honestly, it's fine. But because there's like 3 points of view, it feels weird. If I had 4 or 5, then I'd be like, oh yeah, some of these are just going to have less people. But because Ledger and Anais feel really even and Corin has less, still feeling a little bit nervous about that. But again, it's my first time doing multiple points of view. This is going to be challenging. That's okay. So hopefully it'll all come out in the wash. If you are currently nanoing, let me know about your writing adventures down in the comments. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a little thumbs up. If you are curious about my fate, feel free to subscribe. I sure would appreciate it. Happy writing. Be well. Bye, loves.